ground rules because I like being in charge.
Amen.
That's why I'm sending these men this side so that it can really seem like I'm in charge of what's happening now. You know, there are some men who did and specialized in woodwork at school. I know that they sit in big offices now, but they still know woodwork. We need a pulpit here. Especially tall men like me, you need to be comfortable. We need a pulpit here. I know that you've been nomadics, né? I don't think you left your pulpit at Blue Hills, or you left it somewhere, somehow here. I understand you once, you were saved somewhere here around. We still need a pulpit. Just take a piece of wood, this side, and put it, and put some veneer, and it shines, and we come and stand, and we are comfortable. What does the man say? What does the woodwork man say? Amen. Yeah, it's still there in that certificate, written woodwork A. So you still need to help us, just cut wood this side, put some veneer, and women are going to cover it with a white cloth, and we comfortable stands. And let me talk to my beautiful sisters. At least a bunch of flowers here. Just a bunch of flowers. We don't want to find ourselves having flowers when we are dead. We still need to hear the smell of flowers when we are still alive. We want to see them. When I'm dead, facing upstairs, regardless how many bunch of flowers you put, they mean nothing. We need to see some flowers. I don't know where you put them, but somewhere, somehow. Look at how you beautiful, you look like flowers, but there are some natural flowers which are still needed. What do our women say? I'm not saying do it next week. You can do it next year. But remember that we need a pulpit, we need some flowers. One day we need that. And maybe may I speak to the elders. We are tired of being posted from one point to another point. Next week the church is that side. You know, let me tell you a short story about another church. Yes. They arrived in a place and decided to call themselves geographical. Like our churches are mainly named geographical. I come from Brixton, SDA Church, because it's at Brixton SDA Church. And these guys gave themselves a name in a place which was not theirs. And the time to move came, and they kept on moving with the name. And I was supposed to preach there. I said, I'm now in Rivonia. Now start directing me. Where is the church exactly in Rivonia? No, my brother, we are not in Rivonia. We are only using the name Rivonia. Actually, we are that side of Joburg. But you are lucky because your name has no geographical elements. Otherwise, you'll be moving with the name. But what I would like to say is that the church is a special safety place for our children. They need to be comfortable anytime. We teach them in the pathfinders, adventurers, go on God's errands. Therefore, they need to identify easily where is our church. I know that it is a disease across the globe in our church that we struggle when it comes to specializing on building our churches. We are good at renting other people's churches, but when we get ours, we don't even rent them out. Let us get our church. It's scaring to be presented on a Health and Temperance Day because as a church, we have decided to relegate the message of health and temperance just to mere issues of chewing 32 times. Regardless how big your mouth is or how small it is, we have relegated it to issues of what to eat. But I want to divert your attention this morning to what God did in the beginning. I want to subject my sermon this morning and say, the art of separation. Genesis 1 verse 6. And God said, let there be a firmament, and in the midst of the waters, and he separated the waters from the waters. You know, I could still reason with God in the beginning when he decided to separate the light and darkness. I could still understand what God meant by separation of the two, because darkness has a way of controlling situations, moments, time. When it's the darkness time, everything becomes dark, unless there is some element of light which is thrown. And God, when he comes and say, I am separating the light and darkness. Remember, darkness was there. It was there before sin, but it's a subject for another day. And in that element of darkness, God created the light. And when the light came, he thought that I need to separate the two, the light and the darkness. You know, when the darkness boasts, takes control of attitudes, moments, everyone is controlled by the altar of darkness. It tends to pretend as if it knows that the light is coming soon. At every corner of whatever point, you find that darkness takes control. The pace changes. To some, you know, even transport changes. They can use transport which you cannot use on a normal day, because the darkness will be taking control of how people think, of what people feel, and the situation. But God separates and says, let the light control the day, and you, darkness, you can control the night. And Ephesians 5 verse 11 says, and have no fellowship with the unfruitful works of the darkness, but rather expose them. But I could still understand God when he said, let me put the darkness and light aside. But I had to realize that God is more serious in the issues of separation when he says, let there be a firmament, and he separated the waters, not from anything, but from the waters. God separating the waters. I visualize the waters having had the point of separation. Some say, I have been sent up there, just to float up there. Some say, I will go by the streams. I belong to the sea. Because God had taken it so serious, the business of separation. Man struggles
divine act of separation. To men, all men are men. To men, all women are women. You go to their fridges, what is liquid is equal to a drink. The act of separation. You go to the wardrobes, you could confuse a woman's wardrobe as if she's sharing with their 6-year-old daughter. What is long, what is short. No point of separation. You go to their libraries, everything which is typed can be read. Where is the act of separation? And in verse 26, God says, let us make a man in our own image, according to our likeness. God, imagine looking at himself in the mirror, asked himself, who am I to make a man in my image? What is my image? What is my likeness? He looks at himself and says, I am a God, a holy God, eternal God, immortal God, righteous, perfect, true, just, love, and I'm not a changing God. Therefore, I'm making a man in my own image, so man must be holy, must be eternal, man must be righteous, perfect, true, and he mustn't change, like my image, in my likeness. And separation comes between God and man. And then it divides, it becomes a demarcation center between God and man. And then what is a man? What is a man? A man, instead of being eternal, he has just become temporal. We have had great men of times. They are just defined through historical readings. Look at fading beauty. They were once beautiful during their times and their days, but now they are old and frail. Sin has separated man and God. God is eternal and man is temporal. What is a man? A man is a metal, a killer, full of hatred. There are some amongst us still carrying the baggage of their forefathers, still angry at what my parents did, full of hatred. At times you don't need anything to point you to hatred. It's just so natural. I feel like hating them. I feel like hating you. Sometimes we use stripes. I hate them. That is a man. God is full of love. We never understood love. Some are not even there during the times when whites grabbed the land. But they are still angry, full of anger, because it was once our land taken away from us. And what is a man? What is a man? A man has become water, needs to be refreshed. Even water is not enough. Every moment, he needs to pump himself or herself, deodorant or whatsoever. And he or she knows that a time is coming that I need to be refreshed, because I'm no longer water. What is man? Man is sinful, while God is perfect. I'm sure sometimes the devil even gets surprised at the invasions of man in terms of sin. Because man has become part of the devil. What is a man? While this God is righteous, man is full of sin. Man carries unrighteousness. What is man? Man knows no love. God says, the one who has got a wife has got a good thing. But what does a man do? Is it a punching bag? Man struggles with issues of substance, of love. And God says, I'm a forgiving man, but man struggles with forgiveness. You know, in the book of Matthew 18, 21 to 35, it says the master calls his servants and say, call him for unpaid debts. And a man pleads for forgiveness. And the master says that I need to forgive. A man owed the master, let me say, something like 50,000 rands. A man pleads, my family, my time, my everything. Oh, master, give me some more time. But because man struggles with issues of forgiveness, immediately when he walks out of the master's house, he sees a man who owed, let me say, 50 rands, which he borrowed for lunch. And he says, I have got you. I have got you. Because a man does not understand the equation of forgiveness. That is a man. I like it on John 2 verse 10. When Jesus had turned the water into wine, the wine had finished, and Jesus was called in the situation, and he changes the water into wine. Never mind the whole story, but the master of the wedding tries and describes what a man is. He says, when he sees the quality wine which was created by Jesus, he says, every man at the beginning sets out the good wine. And when they have drank, he can produce whatever wine. That is a man. Every man in the beginning brings the good wine. Every man in the beginning wants to impress. That is a man. A man is a temporal being. When you see a man carrying a flower, know that but just it's in the beginning. When you see a man showing the beauty, know that it's just but in the beginning. Because every man in the beginning sets out the good wine. But when things are tough, that is the beginning of what a man is. When you need him most, that is the beginning of what a man is. Because in the beginning, a man can set the good standards. So what is the destiny of man? Since he has been separated from God, he has got nothing except to wait for his funeral, to wait for his death. Man's destiny is death. He is rich. He dies poor. He dies young and old. You have buried them. Tall, short, white or dark. Let me surprise you. They go to church. They still die. They go to bars. They still die. Even in situations when man has comforted himself around death, they still die. Have you not had them having power around death to a point that they prepare for their times away from life? They give themselves life insurance as a cushion, but still death is death. they dress for the occasions of funerals, they still understand that death is death. I know my parents, they encourage, hey, join the burial societies. But what I know, death is still death. And the survival of man is only through the act of separation. He's been separated from God through sin. And the true separator needs to separate man from sin. Even God hates sin in a way that when he has saved his people, he will change them in the twinkling of an eye for them to be like him. Remember, he said, let us make a man in our own image. And therefore, when he is coming in a twinkling of an eye, he does not give a moment for sin in his kingdom. The final separation comes from Matthew 25, verse 32. All the nations will be gathered before him, and he will separate them one from another, as a shepherd divides his sheep from the goats. 33. And he will set the sheep on his right hand, but the goats on the left. Allow them to walk together, allow him to sing together, allow them to worship together. But a separation time is coming. You know, the master is awakened in the morning by 7. 7 says, isn't it that we planted good seeds? What is it that has come out in the morning? A cool master who understood issues of separation. He says, let the wheat and the wheat grow together. For a time is coming when I will separate the two. Is it not the time for you to start thinking about the art of separation, where you can easily put a demarcation board and say what is good, what is bad? Don't you want to put man into test and demarcate the board? What a good man, what a bad man? Don't you want to look that there are people whom you do not need in your life? Don't you want to look in the food in your fridge? Don't you want to look in your budget? There are things which are not taking you anywhere except to the same road of destiny, which is death. But now put a demarcation board and say time to draw the line. Time to choose what is good. Time to say I am the separator of my life. Sin has confused man. Sin has destroyed man. But God has a solution this morning. The solution is He can save me. He can save you. He can give you the formula. It is time to call for the main separator, for the chief separator of everything. Identify and draw the line. God bless you.